Good morning, dear friends. Here we are for another study of the book Right Path by the Spirit Emmanuel through the blessed mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Have a good day. We're going to be together whichever way you watch this, live or on demand. It's always an honor and a blessing to be with you. And this book, Right Path by the Spirit Emmanuel, is going to bring us today a most beautiful chapter that he titled Other People. Chapter 36 of the book. And Emmanuel is going to say to us many beautiful things and give us an opportunity to reflect on how we are interacting with the people all around us. As I read the message to you, we're going to also make some comments because more than knowing, it's important to feel and it's important to consider how you and I can use these teachings in our daily lives. So here we go, chapter 36, titled Other People. Emmanuel starts by saying, quote, in front of anyone, whoever it may be inclined to goodness and begin by addressing them with a thought of sympathy. All this morning, anybody who comes to you and I, either we like them or we are yet to like them, we need to be inclined to goodness and begin by addressing them a thought of sympathy. No matter what we're going through or what kind of feelings and thoughts they trigger in us, we need to address them with a thought of sympathy. Visualize them as a child of God, full of potential in order to co-create with God. That's to be inclined to goodness. Take a deep breath in when they come to you. Deep breath out, allowing yourself to calm down. And say to yourself, here is a child of God. As I'm inclined to goodness, I wish him or her really well. And he's going to talk about two kinds of people next. He's going to say, if you engage with someone who you admire for the virtues that adorn their character, consider the risks that this creature exposed him or herself and the things they have achieved, calculating the sacrifices that he or she has made to achieve the responsibilities in which he or her is situated. Him or her is situated, offering him or her support so that the strings of their soul does not go out of tune. So let's see you come in touch with someone who you admire. You'd like to be like them. They're kind, they're compassionate, they're successful in our earthly ways of measuring success. And then we look at them and we visualize all the risks they've taken to get to the point where they are, the sacrifice that have to be made. You see someone on the social media and the YouTubes of the world and whatever kind of media we communicate in the future when you're watching this, and we think, my God, they know so much, they're so kind, they're so loving, I wish I knew this much. Well, it comes with risks, it comes with sacrifices. When we dedicate our time to read books such as Right Path, you're giving up fun time, quote unquote, by earthly standards. You are using the time that you have to have fun because there's a joy to know from the good spirits these teachings. Not many people in the world know the consoling words of the Spiritist doctrine. So we decide to have fun and enjoy ourselves by reading good books. That's what brings us knowledge and teachings. And guess what? Once you say, God, I want to know of Emmanuel's work. Guess what? You are a student on the earth. We learn, and it comes time to you're a student. You have tests, you have exams. I used to teach my students. Oh God, you think it's hard? Now it's time for you to prove that you've really learned, and God will put us in places and positions that we actually have to apply the teachings. So when we see someone we admire and just instead of falling into idolatry, we say, okay, this is another child of God doing the good, send them a thought of sympathy so they can be strong to take the risks that are needed to get to where they are. And that if they need to make sacrifices to achieve the responsibilities they are now entrusted with, we give them strength to know that they're doing the right thing. On the other hand, he says, quote, in front of another person you consider wrong, you will pray for him or her even more, begging for the help of the greater life on his or her behalf, so that his or her strength may be restored. First, he said, when you see someone you admire, consider everything that they had to do to get where they are. When you see someone that you consider wrong, because guess what? We only see one aspect of everybody. The same way you and I are multifaceted. Some days we are going about our days trying to do the best we can with the resources we have. Someone else may see us as doing something wrong. So you consider wrong doesn't mean they are. What do you do if they're doing something you disapprove of? You will pray for him or her even more. Then you beg for the help of the greater life on their behalf. Because there may be more than one person we consider wrong. So that their strength may be restored. Is that all? No, he says, you do even more. You're always going to do more. The good spirits are always going to guide us to serve more, to love more, to console more, to spread the consolation of the Spiritist more. How? By doing it in our lives. He says, you meditate on the many times when this creature has suffered the impact of temptations that assaulted their road, and you find no reason for strangeness or condemnations if you reflect on the tears that he or she would have shed until the mental torture prepared his or her heart to the collapse of the moral energy in which he or she was leaning hard against. Leaning in. So you see someone you love and you admire and you're like, oh my God, they're so awesome. Let's consider what all they had to do, all the support they needed, all the sacrifice they make. Now, if we see ourselves in front of another person, facing another person that we consider wrong, we'll pray. We'll pray for the greater life on their behalf. We'll meditate on how many times they suffer the impact of temptations. Let's reverse this. If you were interacting with someone who consider what you're doing wrong, imagine if they could think about what you are going through, what we are going through, the difficulty we have to overcome. Sometimes they are difficult, but it could be that they are in chronic pain. A loved one of theirs is suffering. They don't have money to pay the rent. They're worrying about going to the food bank to get food. They have the right to, consider that state. And then maybe we can pray on their behalf so they feel restored. They feel that God is there to take care of them, right? So if we were in despair and we mistreated someone and now they consider us wrong, we would like to get this kind of benefit and being seen as a whole being who at the moment is suffering and the moment is doing something that is not advisable. Why? Emmanuel says, we are all connected daily by countless people that brings life, the life bring us to observe. So when we see people in our days, we are to observe, not in a judgmental way. We need to observe and learn. The same way when you read these books, when you read the books of Emmanuel or the series of André Luiz, those are case studies. Because we can learn from those teachings. Your brain can read those messages and feel the teachings and learn so that we don't do the same thing in our daily lives. Not only warnings, but their experiences, their teachings. He said, we have received them all in the condition of siblings who have resources and weaknesses, hopes and dreams, tasks and struggles, pains and problems similar to ours. So we are all in the same boat. And the ship is led by Jesus. So when we are confronted with people, we are able to observe what they're doing. Even nowadays, people overshare everywhere. They overshare, they post everything. They post the best of everything most of the time. So let's see each and every one of us as siblings, as brothers and sisters in humanity. Because today I'm here behind this beautiful technology that I didn't build, because my talent is different than the people's abilities to create a camera, the internet, the lights, the microphones. I have different set of abilities. But in order to do all those things, they had to make sacrifices and risks. They sacrificed their time to study. They worked, so they had money to pay for their education. And then when they're working, they're not quote unquote having fun as we on the earth determine fun, because the good spirits, as we see in the books of Andrea Luisa and Emmanuel, and even in the book Heaven and Hell, go to the cases that Kardec brought to us. The good spirits rejoice and have joyful moments when they're serving one another. They're not out there on the beach enjoying themselves for a week without doing anything for anybody else. We need to restore our energies and take time to take care of ourselves, but we also need to be mindful in these moments of planetary transition. With the grave situation we see all around us, it's not time for vacation right now. It's time for service and work. He says, let us consider above all that no one approaches anyone asking for reproach or sourness. So someone comes to you to share a difficulty, a struggle. They're not asking you to reproach them. Yeah, you should feel bad because you did this. No, nobody's asking us for reproach for sourness. What are we all doing? Emmanuel says, quote, we all yearn for understanding and kindness. When you go to someone, how difficult it is when you share a situation and the first thing they say is, yes, I know. When I was doing this, blah, 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 and they go on into their story. Isn't that difficult? So when someone comes to us, we don't do that to them. Okay, I hear you. Tell me more. How do you see this playing in your life? How can I help you at this moment? Of course, we don't let them do a pity party and all that and stay in lamentation forever. But if someone is sharing, we don't reproach. We approach with understanding and kindness. He says, when we are at peace, the counsel that induces us to more improvement resembles the burning lamp pushing us forward. However, when maladjusted by the consequences of our mistakes, we already carry within ourselves burdens of anguish sufficient for the hard torment. So when someone comes to us, they're already burdened enough. They're already beating themselves up figuratively. I shouldn't have said this. I should have done that. There's no need for us to pile on and be making them feel even worse. We need to approach them with understanding and kindness, because ultimately that's what we yearn. Let's treat others the way we would like them to treat us, and the life would be much better that way. Now is a task of today. What are we supposed to be doing today and always? Let us give to as many as we can the best that we can. It says, let us give to as many people, not just to my family, to my kids, my time, my school, my. No, to as many people as you can. The best that you have to offer. Understanding and fraternity. Good word and noble service. So speaking to them is good. Reaching out to them is good. Forwarding them to the resources they need. They share with you something difficult. You guide them. I think we need to have you considered a psychologist? Have you considered getting this medicine? Oh, I can't afford it. Okay, let's use the resources that we have, including these addictive devices that can be used for the good. You can Google. By the way, this program is sponsored by the Good Spirits, by nobody else. I'm just using the name of one search tool. You use a search tool and you search free clinics low price clinics. And if you can pay for that medicine, maybe you consider doing that as well. So we do the understanding, we listen, we act with a good word. We say, okay, have you considered reading the book No Solar with me? Have you seen this beautiful playlist on Kardec Radio that they're talking about the right path, the Spirit Emmanuel, first time in English? Or have you downloaded the Kardec Radio app or the Spiritist Magazine app? And when you are in English, you can read a message from there. When you're in English, why don't you text me? We'll do a prayer together. Because you have to match understanding fraternity's good word, because we're good at talking and telling people what to do. But then about the service, that is the actualization of the knowledge on our lives, the materialization of the knowledge, of the mortality of the soul. We need to act as we know that the bodies will perish, caring for the body because it's a blessed vessel, nourishing it with good food, with exercise, with rest, with meditation, with prayer. All of that affect physical health. Then we nourish our souls with good content. Then we triage what we receive from the outside sources. We break our addictions to being using our devices and having this open window to people's lives, which most of the time are very curated anyways. So we know of it and we act as if we know we're going to die one day. What are the kinds of qualities of our spirit that we need to acquire, right? Last but not least, Emmanuel will tell us, let us convince ourselves that all evils, ours and others, will one day be left behind definitely. All shadows arrive and pass through the cloud and face the sun. The sun of divine providence will remain in the universe above all and forever. In the light of divine providence, all worlds and all beings are connected in the chain of eternal love, impermanent and victorious sublimation. Dear friends, even though it seems like evil is everywhere, a planet of trials and expiations, as described to us in the Gospel according to Spiritism, is still the balance of evil is greater than the good, but we are transitioning to a planet of regeneration where we are convalescing and we're tired of suffering. We are going to work to help one another. Yet one day, our destiny is to be a superior spirit where there's no evil left. The destiny of everybody on the earth is to become a superior spirit, sooner or later. Progress is the law of progress is for everyone. Doesn't matter if I believe or not. It's like science. It is. Law of progress is. It may feel like evil, but yet we are just unearthing, bringing to light all the things we have had worked on millennia, and now it's time to eradicate the differences, the difficulties, the injustices. It feels like horrifying things are happening everywhere. It's just we're also more aware of it. Yet look, 2,000 years ago, we were much worse condition than we are today. Today, we consider things in a different light. We consider everybody in a different light, and the concepts change and we evolve. The law is still the same. The law of progress. The earth is progressing. The inhabitants of the earth are progressing. The earth is progressing physically and spiritually as we spirits morally evolve. Physically, we have progressed a lot. 2,000 years ago, Jesus didn't have airplanes to go everywhere. He walked. Didn't have internet to use. Today we do. We don't need to physically be in the same location. We can take advantage of the teachings of Spiritism in other Spiritist centers everywhere. So here, I wanted to focus on goodness. That's how he started the chapter. He started by saying, in front of anyone, whoever it may be inclined to goodness and begin by addressing them with a photosynthesis. The transition to a planet where goodness reigns starts with you and I. When we commit to be inclined to goodness everywhere. Let us convince ourselves that all evils will one day left behind for good. Yes, it will. If we seek goodness, if we visualize the goodness, if we feel goodness, if we mold goodness in our lives. It's from the book Foreign Life by Emmanuel. Seek the good, visualize the good, mold the good, feel the good, with all the resources that you have at hand. I'm paraphrasing him here. I believe it's chapter 10, Understanding. All shadows pass. The cloud comes, overshadow the sun, the cloud goes, the light still passes through. The sun of divine providence will remain in the universe above all and forever. There is more goodness in the universe than there is no goodness. He's saying the sun of divine providence will remain above all. Goodness will reign. In the light of divine providence, all worlds, all, earth and beyond, and all beings, humanity on the earth and beyond, in both realms of life, are connected in a chain of eternal love. In permanent and victorious sublimation, we are all connected. The love society. Everything that we do on the earth affects all the beings on the earth and beyond, and each and every world interacts. We are connected because divine light, in the light of divine providence, which is God's care for all creatures, all worlds in this infinite universe that we know, and all beings are connected. We are connected right now by watching this together. So let's commit to remain in goodness, to be inclined to goodness. Maybe today we commit to be inclined to goodness, and one day as we practice, we'll remain in goodness. And let's address everything and everyone who comes over, including our own selves, with a thought of sympathy and empathy and compassion. Let's practice applying the goodness in our lives. And we'll start by nourishing our souls each and every day. I really appreciate these moments where I can be with you. It's always a blessing and an honor to be here. And God willing, I'll be back with you next week because we broadcast live, or if you're watching this on demand, from the Spirit Society of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia, in collaboration with Kardec Radio. We broadcast on Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can go to our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages where you can see messages for nourishing your soul. So let's commit to goodness today and always. And God willing, I'll be back with you next week. Until then, stay well, stay safe, take care, dear friends.